Hello and welcome. We start with updates from war-torn Sudan. 2 months after the United States imposed sanctions on Sudan, accusing the army of using chemical weapons in the 2-year civil war, the government has released a new report debunking the claims. The report says there is no evidence of chemical or radioactive contamination. Sudan claims the findings are based on field tests and forensic reviews carried out since April, when the army regained control of capital Khartoum from the Rapid Support Forces, the RSF. The report says field data, medical reports and surveillance systems show no mass deaths or symptoms of chemical poisoning. Forensic teams also reported no fatalities typically linked to chemical weapons. In June, Washington imposed sanctions on the army-backed government, alleging it used chemical weapons last year against the RSF. However, the US provided no details of where or when the attacks took place. Sudan dismissed the accusations as baseless and as political blackmail. The conflict between the army and the RSF, which began in April of 2023, has killed tens of thousands and has driven over 14 million people from their homes. The RSF is also under US sanctions. In January, the State Department determined the group committed genocide against ethnic communities in Darfur and sanctioned its leader, Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo. Darfur is now seeing heavy fighting, particularly in the besieged city of Al Fasher. It is the last Sudan army stronghold in the region, and residents there face starvation, death, and little hope of escape.
Regarding the food, we are very tired. We're tired. Nothing is left for us to eat. Life is so hard. Sometimes we find a portion of animal feed. Other times we can't even find that. We're just staying, but the situation is very, very, very hard.
The Trump administration has also launched new peace efforts in Sudan. It planned a summit in Washington in July with Egypt, Saudi Arabia and the UAE, but the Sudanese government was excluded, triggering criticism over exclusivity and failure to engage civilian groups. Earlier, peace processes, including the Jeddah talks, were also criticized for shutting out civil society and key regional actors, undermining their effectiveness. All of this comes as Sudan stands on the brink of division. The RSF has declared a parallel government in areas under its control, with leader Hamdan Dagalo sworn in as its chief. So far, peace efforts have failed, civilian casualties continue to rise, and with rival governments now taking shape, the conflict shows little sign of ending. Humanitarian conditions are deteriorating rapidly, and the risk of a full national breakup is growing. Now, for more on this, we have with us Meki Al-Moghrabi, African Affairs expert, who is joining us live from Cairo, Egypt. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Alyson. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Let's jump straight in. Now, Sudan's health ministry claims that there is no evidence of chemical or radioactive contamination in Khartoum. How credible are these findings, given that the government is under scrutiny and has a vested interest in denying the allegations?
Sudan is a member of the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, and Sudan in the Executive Council, so that reinforces the credibility of Sudan's position over claims from a country that always pointing finger to Sudan and other nations, which is United States in this case. So there is no logic that the Sudanese government will deny an existing problem, because now people are returning to Sudan in large numbers. As example, here from Cairo or from Egypt, generally, people are returning to Sudan, and the return is organized and sponsored by the government itself in large numbers, daily buses, daily trains, and sponsored by the industrial defense system, which is a public sector companies, so that I don't think there is benefit for the government to bring Sudanese people to contaminated areas.
Right, right. With Washington having imposed sanctions in June based on the alleged chemical weapons use, what impact could this report then have on US policy? Could it lead to a reassessment of the sanctions, or will geopolitical considerations override Sudan's internal report?
Sudan has very long history with the United States and its politicized report and standards. Sudan remained in the terror list for 20 years, while Sudan has full cooperation on counterterrorism with the United States, and still remained in that list for a long, long time. And when lifted, it was a political compromise, contained things like normalization with Israel and other things. That has nothing to do with the counterterrorism cooperation with Sudan and the good records of Sudan with the United States itself. So politicized report from United States that will not change, because this is the nature of United States. Sudan understand that very well, and the decision is heavily manipulated by politics. Even if the organization opposes that false reports, still United States, UK could do the same that they have done before in the Iraqi case. They claimed, and then it turned to lies. And the organization of the prohibition of chemical weapons doesn't make any change in the position of the two countries.
Yes. And since these tests were conducted by Sudanese authorities, even though they are a member of the OPCW, what role should the international bodies like the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons play in verifying these claims? And how critical is independent verification for Sudan's global standing?
Sudan in full cooperation with the Organization of Prohibition Chemical Weapons. So Sudan doesn't need someone to push Sudan in cooperation and validating its own reports. But if that doesn't work with the United States, what shall we do? Because this is the case of United States. They always against the truth. They always don't care about the professional reports. So now it's a matter of politics, but I have a little hope because now the position of United States started to change. And Zurich meeting between the advisor of Trump, Boris, and the president of the Sovereignty Council, Burhan, has some positive sides.
Right. Meki, thank you very much for being with us on Firstpost Africa.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
$36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor,
Hindi,
$30 trillion ka karjo.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Sekali radikali.
Japanese,
$4 trilhões.
Portuguese,
Por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select a language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.